Hello and welcome to the final vlog for 2023. This is the December vlog. We've done it. We've got to 12. So this one is obviously being recorded. Go away, cat. Meow. This one's obviously being recorded during the sort of very, very busy December holiday period. I'm trying to fend off a cat right now, and I'm recording this just between two little quick bits of visiting family. So yeah, let's get straight down to it. So I think we've successfully completed all of 2023's resolutions, but I'll leave that until the January episode, because what I'll do is I'll go over all of the resolutions on that episode and then sort of look at the 2024 ones that I've just sort of come up with. Hopefully they're sort of mid-January, so there might be two vlogs in January, just sort of wrap it up at the end of the month, and then like a mid-month one where I'll go over those things. Anyway, just to let you know that as part of that as well, I completed my final one for learning a new skill, which was soldering. So my lovely wife taught me how to solder. She has is it a BA in electronics or something? Some sort of course in electronics. She's not looking happy because I'm involving her now. Hi.
GCSE in electronics.
A GCSE in electronics, yes. And she taught me how to solder. So we soldered together some LED strips, and whilst the strips didn't light up, it turned out the problem was that the two strips had different power ratings. That was the problem, not the fact that we'd soldered them together, because when we used the sort of finger tapping method, we were able to get all of the LED strips to light up, which proves that the connection was there. So fantastic, happy days. I'm really, really chuffed with that. Next job is to sort of order some soldering practice kits, but that's, you know, another story. So just sort of whip through very quickly what I've been up to in December for 2023. Not an awful lot, to be honest, sort of retreading some old ground. So video games wise, replaying Hades on the Switch. Fantastic, what do you call it, roguelike game where you've got like different levels that you're sort of going through and you're building up power-ups, and but if you die you have to go right back to the beginning, but there's little incremental bonuses that you'll be picking up between these sort of runs to try and get to the final boss, that will sort of increase your power run by run. It's absolutely brilliant. It's even got a little storyline running through, which is quite rare for a roguelike. Fantastic stuff, really enjoying that. I downloaded Resident Evil Revelations 2 for the Switch as well, which is one I sort of got ages and ages ago when it was super cheap and never actually played it. So yeah, going back to try and find some of the older titles that I've not actually played, which does play into my 2024 resolutions, where I'm going to be looking to sort of consolidate, buy less, do more, if that makes sense. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. And then finished Yoshi's Crafted World as well during December. It was fine, it was okay, a bit simple, but obviously that's what Yoshi is. There are some later levels that get unlocked a bit later. They're a lot more difficult, but they're quite a bit more fun because there's a lot more challenge to them. I'm not going to go back and sort of do the 100% run, because some of the things to get there are quite obnoxious. You've got to like basically scour like the backgrounds of these things to make sure that you hit the perfect like pieces and icons and certain things in the background with these sort of eggshells that Yoshi can produce, and it seems like busy work, so I'm not going to bother going back to them. Board gaming wise was even lighter, so the only things we've played are sort of kids games, obviously, because it's Christmas. We played one called Dragon's Breath, which was really good fun actually. It's sort of these little gems in a little stack, and as you breathe, you pretend you're breathing fire, you're removing these sort of rings that represent like a column of ice, and as you remove them, these gems will fall out, and you get to collect the gem that you've selected at the beginning of the turn. So let's say I pick the purple gem at the beginning of my turn. Any purple gems that fall out of this column then go into my little stash, and at the end of the game you count up everybody's stash. Whoever's got the most wins. Fantastic, you know, nice and light, easy, good fun. Bit of Trivial Pursuit, because that's a Christmas classic, but this one was sort of modified so that there's like a kids deck and a grown-ups deck. Really good fun actually. The only issue I find is that the decks themselves are actually quite short, so eventually we were sort of coming back round to the same questions. But I do like the fact that they kind of split them, so the adult ones obviously are a little more difficult. And it just puts the kids on par with the adults, which I thought was a really clever idea. And then sometimes the kids can answer the grown-up questions as well, which is just, you know, they're like, ah, yeah, fantastic, so they feel all part of it. Hobbyist gamer-wise, we did play the Advent Calendar from Exit for the 2023 one. It's probably one of the easiest ones we've done so far. Really enjoyed it. It was really good fun. There was a bit of a problem on door 2, which kind of marred a bit of the experience because it just didn't quite work. But apart from that, a lot of the other puzzles, really good fun. I think we only got stuck on a couple in the end, where we required a little bit of guidance, but we never actually needed like the full guidance. Like there's a little sheet of papers that basically give you the answers and the codes of how to complete each of the levels, each of the days. but we never actually had to use all of it. It was, it was quite on the simple side, which was great fun actually, because that's exactly what you need during Christmas. You need a little buzz, a little, what would you call it? You need a little challenge. You don't need like a massive challenge that's going to take all evening. So really good fun. The one thing I would say that I really did like was they sort of pushed more towards the recyclability of the game, so the sustainability of it. There was a lot fewer components in there that were basically plastic or things you couldn't recycle. A lot of them were these cards with without the plastic coatings and things like that, and less plasticky bits. So yeah, really appreciated that. Then on to sort of books that I've been going through. So not read many books. I did finish that the Star Warsy one, which was really good fun, and then moved on to a couple of others. So Kingdom for Sale by Terry Brooks, where basically it starts off in the real world, and this sort of wizardy kind of character sells a kingdom, a magical, mythical kingdom, very sort of fantasy style, to this gentleman. He then goes into this sort of mythical fantasy world, and there's like a whole mystery about why are they selling this, why are they doing this, what's going on here. That's been quite enjoyable, but I haven't quite finished it yet. And then over Christmas I picked up an Isaac Asimov one, or I was given, sorry, an Isaac Asimov one called Foundation. Really early days, one of like the first in a series. Very intriguing, but quite heavy on the politics side, so I don't know how far I'm going to get into the whole series, but so far really enjoying that one. That's it for reading, really. So I learned a bit of soldering. Oh, you're going to talk about the New Year's resolutions in the next episode, but as I said, we're going to sort of look to consolidation. One thing I have been doing this year is moving away from social media, so I'm trying to reduce my amount of time spent on places like Facebook, Twitter, which is now X. Instagram's still quite fun, but again, trying to do a bit less of it. I just noticed that there seems to be an awful lot of like prompts and pointing to, and a lot of notifications around what other people are talking about, and sometimes it's interesting, but 99% of the time it's a case of, oh, so-and-so that you interacted with once 12 months ago has said something on this particular group, and you go in and go, oh, they're just selling something, or they're just talking about some recent event. Finding it's kind of eating a lot of time, so I'm just going to try and reduce that. Oh, and then last bit is actually game design, which was the whole point of starting this vlog in the very first place. So I only worked on 2 games during the sort of December period. One was Dragon Ranch. So Dragon Ranch, I was presented a challenge earlier in the year to try and remove coins as a currency from the game completely, which I did. It then presented a new challenge in that people weren't engaging with the sort of ranch building aspect of it, because I had it quite simple. It was basically like 2 tiles, you pay a builder, plop it into your thing and get some rewards based on where you place them. I've now tried to create a newer system where there's this like polyomino style system, so these little cards will come out, and each card will have a pattern of ranches and sort of special tiles and bonus tiles on it, and a card comes out, you place the additional tiles onto it and you buy the card essentially. And there's this whole system where like the further down the queue the card is, the more expensive it is to buy. Classic sort of board gamery stuff, but the fun thing is that when you bought them, they flip over and then there's like a new presentation on the back, so there's this constant kind of churn of different shapes and styles and types of tiles that might pop out. And then, as I said, there are special tiles in there, so it's not just the red, blue and yellow tiles that you need for your dragons. You've also got like these star tiles that you can use to sort of get bonuses. You've got special building tiles which allow you to create point scoring opportunities within your little ranch as well, so like having lots of reds together. And the newest system is that when you can also overlay primary color ranches together, so if you've already built a blue and you overlay it with a red, that will then turn to a purple ranch spot or habitat, and then you can obviously breed your purple dragons and plop them in there and hatch them out. So still working on that. It seems to be going in the right direction, but what it's doing is basically creating a situation where every single action is important, every single part of the game is still linked together, but each decision is now more interesting. The problem obviously that it's created is that every other system now has to sort of cooperate with this new ranch building system, so it's been a bit of a slow update process, purely because I'm now trying to get everything else to fit around this new system. And as like a heavier style Euro, which is what I'm aiming for, it's creating a bit of a random proposition. So yeah, working on that one. And then the last one is Ghost Town. So this is what I'm hoping will be like the third in the series of the spooky games like Ghostal and Horticulture. We're going to finish one called Ghost Town, or whatever name I come up with later. Essentially you're building this town of spooky buildings to try and create a spooky neighborhood, I suppose, around a little town center. The newest version of the game has done away with like coins and stuff like that to try and pay for cards, but essentially each of your cards is paid for by discarding cards from your hand. So if a card says it costs 3, meow, you have to discard 3 other cards from your hand to play that particular card, which will be like a building in your town, and then that will sort of promote gaining of like new residents, so like zombies, skeletons, ghosts, that kind of thing, point scoring opportunities, movement opportunities to move your various new monsters, around your town, and various other bits and pieces. And then there's like a scaling within the game. So if you play like a card that gives you a ghost, and then you play another card that gives you a ghost, it then looks to see, oh, you've got 2 of this gain a ghost symbol in your town. You actually gain 2 ghosts instead of 1. So there's this whole like scaling up as you're going along. Oh, there she is. Meow, meow, meow. Shouldn't have done that. She's now going to come over for a little scruffle. Yeah, and then you get this lovely like scaling as the game goes on, and then it's just trying to find that end game as well to make sure that the game doesn't go on for a bit too long. At the moment, it's just like it's a 3x4 grid. Once you finish that grid, the game is over. But maybe find some other ways to do it. So like, once X number of zombies are in all towns conglomerately, then the game ends as well. So yeah, trying to figure that bit out. But it was a really promising last playtest. It was a lot more interesting, so a lot more decision space around like what was happening before is it was a drafting game, and because you were passing your hand across all the time, and it was a really small hand, only like 3 cards, you didn't have a lot of like further decision making. It was like almost, you're always immediate. You looked at these 3 cards, that was all you got. You couldn't forward plan at all. This new system hopefully will allow players to forward plan. So fingers crossed, it makes it a bit more interesting. Plus it's all going to be card and chip based, so it's going to be very easy and light to make, which is also a bonus. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, because as I said, I haven't got a huge amount of time this time of year because of family and Christmas and all that sort of thing. I just want to wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year for 2024, and I'll speak to you again sort of mid-January when we go over the New Year's resolutions. So yeah, signing off. I'll see you later.